On the 1st of August 2020, I was on my weekly 100 kilometers solo cycling ride. 32 kilometers down, tragedy struck, and I was hit by an overspeeding truck from behind. The apparent injury was a broken leg. And I'm using the word broken because both bones at the shin level had fractured completely. The foot was lying by a side, attached to the body only with some soft tissue. But the more serious injuries were 16 fractures in the pelvis. And that wasn't all. The life-threatening injuries were multiple organ damages. The small intestine, large intestine, and urinary bladder had all been ruptured. For a trauma victim of this kind, it is extremely difficult to get help. I also faced the same situation. I saw the people gather around me, but nobody was willing to come forward and help. I instantly realized that unless I lead the way and rally them into helping me, I might bleed to death. So I introduced myself to the crowd, requested someone to call the police and the ambulance, got my phone located and gave an update to a colleague. Someone with a motorcycle was requested to go to the nearest military garrison, which happened to be 6 kilometers away, and fetch an ambulance. Finally, I got a stick and got my leg tied using that as a splint. All this done, we were now waiting for the ambulance. This is when I saw a policeman in the crowd. So I called out to him and requested him to commandeer a vehicle and take me to the hospital. He said they were waiting for an army ambulance. Left with no choice, I continued lying for some more time, and this is when I started to feel numb in the edges of my fingers. The army teaches us first aid, and from that I knew that I was running against time, dipping critically in the golden hour. So I pleaded with this policeman once again. He still wasn't moved. This is when I decided to execute one of the teachings of the army, to take a calculated risk. So instead of pleading, I now started to fight with him, demanding that as a uniformed policeman, it is his responsibility to evacuate a trauma victim, and he must do it. It paid. He got the police jeep in which he had himself traveled to the site of the accident, and I was put in that vehicle. Perhaps he didn't want his vehicle to be dirtied by my blood. Once in the vehicle, I requested these gentlemen to take me to the military hospital, which was about 18 kilometers away, because I knew that the surgeries could only be performed in that hospital and not in the nearby garrison. Despite this, they took me 6 kilometers away, offloaded me at the gate of the military garrison, told the sentry, "Aapka aadmi hai, dekh lena," and drove off. I was fortunate. The individual whom I had sent on a motorcycle had done his job. The ambulance was on its way. Once in the ambulance, I requested the paramedic to reach out to any of his friends who could inform the military hospital and get the operation theater activated and get the surgeon and the anesthetist from their homes. Mind you, it was still about 8 in the morning and a holiday. I finally gave him an account of what I thought my injuries were, adding specifically that should I faint en route, he should tell the doctor not to waste time in looking for a head injury. I struggled to keep myself awake. When I reached the hospital, I was still in my senses. I blabbered my injury once again to the doctor, and before I finally fainted, the last distinct words which I said were, "Please pump the fluids fast, I'm sinking." I did, but I knew I was in safe hands. In the hospital, the doctors were real fast. They understood that I needed to be attended to by multiple super specialties, which were not available in this hospital. So while they were busy in stabilizing me, my organization and friends were the ones who got together and tried to arrange an air ambulance. By the afternoon, I had been evacuated to Command Hospital, Lucknow by air. In the evening, I underwent the first set of my surgeries. By this time, 2 more complications had got added to the already long list. One was the excessive blood transfusion. Now, the body doesn't accept far too much of blood to be transfused in one go, In my case, I had already touched the 50% benchmark by now, and it was projected to reach 2/3 in the next 24 hours. And the second, when they cut me open, they found that a part of the small intestine had actually turned gangrenous. It is only natural. The doctors weren't sure whether I'll even be able to pull through or not. I was certain I wasn't dying. The fight was well worth, and 4 days later, I was declared out of danger. A week after that, the organs started to function. Until now, the doctors have only been concentrating on the organs. The pelvis and the foot has been left. In the pelvis, they had drilled 6 rods, each of the size of a pencil, and they were all secured by a cage sort of a structure in the top. So all in all, I was straight like a log, not even in a position to turn side by side. By the 17th day, I underwent the second set of my surgeries, this time to remove this contraption and instead secure me together using 4 screws, each of the size of a pen in the pelvis, and in the leg too, a rod was put. The total length of this entire steel is about 92 centimeters. All of it is still inside here. By the 25th day, I had started to turn in the bed. On the 35th day, they made me sit on the bed with somebody supporting back to back. This is the day when the doctor said that someday you will be able to walk on crutches. I announced, 1 year from the date of my accident, I will cycle. Some people felt it was arrogance. To me, it was purely a belief in my ability to strike back. By the 48th day, I could be lifted like a potato and kept in a wheelchair. From then, the next 2 months were perhaps the most frustrating. Because other than dealing with about 4 complications for which I had to undergo surgeries on and on, off and on, I was only waiting for the calcification of these bones so that the bones are strong enough and I am able to take my weight on my own feet. 110 days later, so that's about 4 months later, I touched the most important landmark in my recovery. I was made to stand on my own feet, though with the help of a walker. 6 more weeks, I graduated from a walker to 2 crutches. Time now was end of December, 5 months down. Now my daughter's wedding had been scheduled for the 1st of March, so 2 months hence, long back. I had been advised to postpone the wedding. This is a time when I took a call that we will have the wedding on the scheduled dates, and I also promised to her that during the wedding, I will not be photographed with crutches. The next 1.5 months was perhaps the most painful of the physiotherapies that I had gone through. I pushed my limits. And 2 weeks before the marriage, I had still been able to reach a stage where I could only shed 1 crutch. Gave it a last. And did I keep my promise? Well, yes. A few days before the wedding, I was able to shed both crutches. Next was the target of being able to cycle 1 year hence. Kept that promise too, and on the 1st of August, I was able to cycle about 52 kilometers at a respectable speed. Now there always comes a time when everybody starts to run out of motivation. This is when I invoked a cause, something that is close to my heart. I work for an organization called Atulya Ganga, which spreads awareness about the cleanliness of water bodies. So about 10 months later, Atulya Ganga was planned to cycle from Gangotri to Gangasagar. I joined them for 1300 kilometers from Allahabad to Gangasagar. For the next year, I linked it to another cause, which is the empowerment of girls. I picked up a 14-member girls team, all of which came from the strata of the society where at least 10 did not even own a cycle. All 14 were trained, and we started a journey from Kanyakumari to Delhi. This 3,660 kilometers journey was undertaken in 34 cycling days. The yatra was called Mahila Shakti Ka Abhedya Safar. We completed it at 112 kilometers per day, and we were honored to be flagged in by the Honorable Prime Minister himself as a part of the Republic Day celebrations 2024. For the next year, I found another cause, and this was the India's freedom struggle. So for this January, I picked up another team, new theme, but the concept remains the same. And this year we did 2,000 kilometers called a rally called Sangram 1857, touching the flashpoints of 1857. Am I done? No. There is still a long way to go. There is already something brewing in the mind, and very soon I should be able to undertake something more. A lot of people have asked me whether it was tough. To admit honestly, yes, it was. If I had to look for technical evidence, then my watch I started to wear 6 weeks after the accident, and for the 7th week, it read the stress levels at 91. At 1 year, the stress levels recorded were at 52. The current stress levels are just about 25 to 26. So how did I manage to retain the sanity in my mind? At no stage did I allow the thought, why me, come into my mind. If at all it did come, I always kept telling myself that I was destined to die. Whatever I have is a bonus. So instead of ruing about what I had lost, I actually kept celebrating what I have been able to claw back to. There are a few more lessons that I have learned. The importance of maintaining the mental balance at the time of adversity. The second, the human body has endless capacity to take physical pain and hardship. It is here that we give up. The third, a person cannot lose until he or she decides to give up here. I've also come to realize the value of friendships, because at a time when the immediate family starts to shatter, the caregivers start to shatter, it is your extended family of friends who come to your support and stand by you all the time. I've also come to realize the value of prayers, the value of blessings. I've also come to understand as to why the doctors are called gods in white coats. And finally, I have started to accept that God does exist. May we all remain healthy and happy. Jai Hind.